all of the technology and all of the tools of Bitcoin OS, really, you don't need to use the BOS token to utilize it. Where the BOS token is important is, I'll give you two examples to try and illustrate this. So one is, the way Bitcoin OS works is it doesn't create like a single bridge between, let's say, Bitcoin and Cardano. But any group of people can go and bridge assets. They can go, they pre-sign a set of transactions or commitments to Bitcoin. They create this like new smart contract UTXO. That becomes a UTXO that you can deposit Bitcoin in and start depositing funds to Cardano. So that's great. Anyone, right? You, for example, Phil, can go and create your own bridge. It can be the Phil bridge. You do it with Pay and a bunch of other friends, and that's your bridge. You don't need the BOS token for that at all. The problem is that system is very, very limited. First of all, it's not going to be connected to anything else. It is much less robust, right? It's got a much smaller number of provers, a much smaller number of verifiers. So it has a much lower level of security. Maybe for you, it's got a high level of security, but for anyone else who's trying to use it, potentially a much lower level of security and a bunch of other problems. But basically what happens is that the whole system, if we were to just initialize it the way I've just described, the whole system would fragment.
I understand. Here you're arguing the utility of the token in terms of productizing and making this public infrastructure that works at scale. And that makes sense to me, right? Every major bridge sort of has this. Every major infrastructure product that works on chain in crypto has this. In general, I don't see issues with projects releasing tokens. Almost every project in crypto across any chain releases tokens. The question, and I think you've clarified it for me, is just that Bitcoin OS itself is an open source framework that can be used independently, right? And this is an instance of using it, and the token exists to sort of productize it, or at least to make it work at scale, right? Because it requires infrastructure across many different chains. Otherwise, an individual use case would be limited in scope. Like if we did what you said and us four decided to set this up and co-sign on both chains, we would need first value on Bitcoin, then value on Cardano, and then value on all the other chains that we would want to swap through. And we need to set up all this complex ZK heavy compute infrastructure on machinery. But what
Yeah,
they're doing
I think you
doing
describe
this.
it even better than I do. I think that's a great explanation. Yes.